President Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump are set for a presidential rematch after dominant performances in state primaries overnight on what's known as Super Tuesday.
So far, then, from the current projected results, Donald Trump is expected to win in all but one of the states that voted, seeing off the challenge of his main only Republican rival, Nikki Haley. Here's what the Trumpster had to say.
They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this. There's never been anything so conclusive. This was an amazing night, an amazing day. It's been an incredible period of time in our country's history. It's been sad in so many ways, but I think it's going to be inspiring because we're going to do something that, frankly, nobody's been able to do for a long time.
Brilliant.
He says it as if he wasn't president previously.
Have you noticed he's calmed down a bit the last 2 days?
Unlike you. Let's get some analysis now.
Just excited to sit next to you.
Thank you. For some commentary now from US political commentator Scottie Nell Hughes and Poppy Coburn, who's still with us, assistant US opinion editor at The Telegraph. Scottie, is this a success for Donald Trump?
I mean, isn't it always a success for Donald Trump? Even when you have 99 counts against you, it is a success for Donald Trump. If we have not figured that out over the last 8 years, the only time that Donald Trump ever figured he didn't have success was the night he lost in 2020. And we know how that went because he still would not even admit that he lost in 2020. But I think to your point in the fact that he seems a little bit more subdued today, let me tell you, for the first time ever, it wasn't just a Super Tuesday. It was a Super Monday, it was a Super Tuesday, and now we're in Super Wednesday because we still have Nikki Haley, despite her saying she's not going to do any more appearances and looking like she's finally going to suspend her campaign, she's still there. So as long as Nikki Haley's still in the race, you still have Donald Trump having to deal with a primary candidate where normally at this point, he would be fully invested in going after his opponent, something that I don't think he has stopped doing since 2020.
Scottie, it's really interesting. I want to bring Poppy in on that exact point. They were saying to us yesterday, I'd love both of your opinions of this, that the only reason that Nikki Haley is staying, because she can't win, is if the indictments or whatever lead to criminal action, which means that he cannot stand. I mean, if that's the case, but, you know, I'm not going to sit here and give an opinion. I think he's going to win the election.
Oh, I basically agree with you. I think Nikki Haley is basically nobody's first choice. And I think last night really showed that. She didn't
even win in her own state. She was governor.
She had a horrendous showing last night. Well, no matter what spin people are going to try and put on it, she performed extremely poorly. She did manage to win out in Vermont, but this was by a tiny, tiny, tiny margin. I mean, at the point of call, there were like 3,000 votes in it. And this is supposed to be liberal Vermont. It allows independent voters to get involved. This was supposed to be a big night of victories for her. She's getting all the college-educated white voters, the independents, maybe those who think that Trump is going a little bit far. No, sorry. There is no Republican Party without Donald Trump. He's shown that time and time again throughout this entire primary season. He managed to bat off Ron DeSantis, and now he's bat off Nikki Haley. The fact that she hasn't backed down does say, Donald Trump is a unique candidate. I think she's basically just waiting for maybe some kind of Deus Ex Machina in terms of a legal filing that comes up. And then she's swept in.
It's really interesting. And just to bring Scottie in on that, we sit this side of the pond, you know, in a country that's on its backside. Despite the fact...
Get your popcorn and watch us like you watch the Kardashians.
Well, yeah, it's more exciting than the Kardashians. But, you know, from this side of the pond, Scottie, you know, you go, right, so there's a guy who manages to confuse Gaza with Ukraine and can't remember his own name, who is apparently the leader of the free world, with a vice president we haven't seen for 3 years because she polls worse than my dog and I haven't got one. She's rolling out now talking for a ceasefire. And we've got this man who seems to take with him this passion and verve, facing these criminal and civil cases. And then we're here on this side of the pond. He could actually become president while sitting in an orange suit in prison, for God's sake.
Yeah, I guess orange is the new White House uniform. I don't know. You have every right to sit back and go, what is going on with America? And I think if some Americans wonder, maybe we should have stuck with the British. What were we thinking? We would probably, we're definitely entertaining the world right now, and for good reason. Because we're giving lots of definitely copy, not only to our own Saturday Night Live skits, but obviously to anybody that's a comedy writer around the world. The problem with all of this is that it's the truth. It's the reality. And we are talking about the supposed leader of the free world. And when we have as many issues, not only domestically here in the United States that we're dealing with, but internationally now that we have the two major conflicts, potentially three on the horizon, who is elected as the United States president definitely makes a difference. And I think this is why a lot of people are just at this stage very frustrated. Now, I can sound Republicans. I feel like Republicans embrace their candidate much more than the Democrats are. But Democrats are sitting here going, what do we do about Joe Biden? Because we can't necessarily, if we show that we're changing horses, especially too early, then that could potentially hurt down ballot, which is your races, your Senate races in California, Texas. And as much as the Democrats, I think, want to hold on to the Oval Office, more important to them right now is the Senate. Because if they can keep the Senate, even if Donald Trump is elected and he isn't in an orange jumpsuit, they are going to start impeaching him from the very first moment that he puts his hand back on that Bible and swears an oath to office.
It's fascinating because it appears to me to be unprecedented that you've got two candidates who represent a party that is so embarrassed by the fact that this is all that they can put forward. A lot of criticism of Biden and his mental faculties. However, listening to Donald Trump in that clip earlier, he doesn't necessarily make much sense either, but perhaps we've just become completely desensitised to the fact that he also doesn't seem to know what he's talking about.
People talk about the age difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. There's actually only a couple of years in it. The difference...
He forgot his wife's name.
But the difference...
He's had so many, like me.
I mean, Melania has actually been taking a bit of a backseat in campaigning this year. But, you know, the thing is, it's a difference in energy. Donald Trump can command a room of tens and tens of thousands of his supporters for 4 hours. 4 hours. Yeah. Joe Biden can't even do a press conference with friendly media for like 10 minutes. This is the fundamental difference. And I think it's very clear that last night was not the successful showing for Joe Biden.
Is it just very quickly, ladies? I mean, I get what people say, but the one thing that I would like to bring into it very briefly is, and I think Scottie probably better placed, no disrespect to you, but one thing we know is that America economically was better off under Donald Trump. It's not just senility and, you know, let's make America great again. Millions of Americans will tell you that things were better when Donald Trump was in the White House. Economically, that's a fair point, isn't it, Poppy?
Yeah.
No, not Poppy. Sorry, Scottie.
Well, Poppy said the right word. Yes, it is. It's an excellent point. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. It's the weeks before the election happens in November. Do people feel like their life is better off today, that they can afford more, and more importantly, that their children have a chance of experiencing the supposed American dream that we all talk about? And if they cannot, which if the election was held tomorrow, I can assure you most Americans feel like they don't have as much money in their pocket. They're spending more at the gas pump, and their eggs, bread, and milk definitely are taking more of a chunk of change, then they will not stick with the person in the Oval Office right now. They will go for a change, even if it means crossing over and voting for someone that they think puts out mean tweets. They would much rather deal with mean tweets and more change in their bank account.
Completely agree, Poppy. Isn't that right? Just very quickly.
People are sick of Bidenomics. They don't like it. They don't feel richer. They can see the inflation around them. People vote for Donald Trump not just because he's a funny guy, not just because he's charismatic, because he was a good president. You know, and if we lose sight of that, then we're going to be blindsided in the media again.
Mike Graham said this 2 years ago, after the Capitol riots 4 years ago, and everybody laughed at him. He will be the 47th president of the United States of America. He will.
But he is also a man who has faced so many criminal accusations,
and his
accusations of sexual assault.
His spin on that is to say they're out to get me. Now, I'm not condoning anything that Donald Trump's done, but I'd like to know why as much fuss isn't made about the Hunter Biden stuff. I mean, that in itself is another
There's certainly
story.
A debate to be had over
but
what
we love watching it, Scottie. We love it.
What on earth does the word great mean if it encompasses all of those things as well? Well, thank you so much to political commentators Scottie Nell Hughes and Poppy Coburn from The Telegraph.